Hello again, everyone. So, last time we motivated the subject of object oriented. We discussed the shortcomings that came from some of the data structures that we have, especially the example that we used was the introduction of tuples in a way that if somebody designs a tuple in one way that you disagree or you don't remember or you have some difficulties working or interfacing with your teammates' work, it became such a really bad issue for people who are collaborating with each other as teams. And we realized that we have to find different ways of interfacing with the data structures that people use without having to worry about how they implemented it and whether you agree or disagree about the number of elements or the order of elements. And let me refresh your memory. So what we did last time, suppose we instead of well let me show you what we did last time. So we entered the description of an item like that, and we stored it in a variable, and then we also had a price, and then we can receive it also from the keyboard as well. Enter the price like that. Sorry, that was not a good idea. And we also talked about maybe quantity as well, and then input, enter quantity like this. So suppose that you want to construct your item. We can just call this in a way that you want to construct your item first. The price should come first, and then the description should come second, and then the quantity should come last. This is what you would like to do. However, your teammate who is working with you on the same project is going to design a tuple where they work with the description first, and then the quantity, and then the price. And then the third teammate wants to work with a third item like that, and they want to do the price, and then the quantity like that, and then the description like that. And as you can see, none of these different ways of expressing a way to package these three different variables as a tuple or as an entity or as a whole data structure, none of this is wrong. All of this is correct. And we can go here, and I can show you that if we print these three items, item 1, and then item 2, and then item 3, none of this is going to cause us a problem in terms of the correctness of the program. So if we just run this, we're going to enter the description, say we want to enter some carrots, and then the price is $3.99, and then the quantity is 3. And then if we run these guys, and then as you can see, all of these three different items were printed, and they were printed just fine. So what issue are we discussing here? Well, let me show you. Suppose you want to work with the first element, and you just want to get the price. So here you just get the price for the first element like that. And the price here is in the first index. When I mean the first end, it's the first location, which is at index 0. Now, if I want to work with the second item like that, I'm going to print, and I'm going to look at the second item, and then I will count 0, 1, 2. So clearly here, the price for the second element is gonna be at index 2. So this is getting the price for the second element, and as you can see, the index here is this price is available at the third place, which is at index 2. So if I run this, I'm gonna get the price, and if I run this, oops, I might have had some, yes, I need to close this, I apologize, and then I get the same price. But as you can see, this is a really serious problem here, that there's no consistency. If you're working with a very large database and you're trying to integrate the databases, and the price is in one location in one part of the database, and the other part of the database has a different location for the same information, this is going to be an overhead that no programmer would be ready to work with. So what we discussed last time, that we said if there is any way that I can hide this information from the people who are going to be working with these grocery items, whether you add a new element to it, whether you add maybe like a barcode or something. Suppose you want to add a barcode to it. It doesn't matter what you want to do, as long as I know how to interface with these pieces of information, and I know how to grab them without having to worry about how you store them, whether you store them in the first location or the last location. It really doesn't matter to me. What I want you to hide all that mess from me, and I want to find a way that I can get that price regardless whether it is in the index 2 or regardless whether it is at index 1. How do we do this? All right. Remember that this is not about data structures, and this is not about me showing you something that we've done before. This is about motivating object-oriented. And last time we talked about something that was actually very important. It's called information hiding and encapsulation. So part of the object-oriented offers exactly a solution to hide to this very serious problem that we're struggling with. So how do we do this? How do we hide the information and encapsulate it in a way that isolate me from the mess that I'm seeing here, and it gives me a pleasant way to work with anyone grocery item, whether they store the price as a first location or a last location. It really doesn't matter to me. Well, let me show you the number one thing that we have to learn here to use and see how we can encapsulate information. There is a new device that we've never seen before. It's called a class. And as soon as we type it, as you can see, the environment here is recognizing that this is a keyword. So instead of defining a function, right now we're going to define something called a class. And this class must have a name. And the name that we want to use, so we can hide all these things, I'm going to choose a descriptive name. So I'm going to call this grocery item, like that. So this is essentially the number one step that I have to do. I am going to create a class, and I'm going to hide all these details. I'm going to hide it inside here, the class. And when I want to get the price, I'm going to define a function that says get price, like that. And this function is supposed to return my price. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Okay. So now, as you can see, we can define functions here that can get the price without having to worry about the location. We can also say get the description, right? Without you having to worry about where the description was stored. Return description. Okay, and we can also get the quantity as well, like this. and then we return the quantity like that. But wait just a minute. Where are we getting these return variables? We don't have them anywhere. As you can see, this is a class, this is a unit, and everything inside it is not is known to be inside it, and is inside this alone, is not interfacing with the outside world. So we don't know where the price is going to come from. Therefore, we need a way to get that price and work with a price. Like, well, here we were able to interface with an input message or function, and then we passed these guys openly to a tuple here. So we knew what to pass to the tuple. We did not just assume that these guys existed inside the tuple and we started to grab them. We already populated the item first with these three different pieces. So when I access the item here, I access by the index, and I'm able to see the prices. Okay, right now I'm basically grabbing these prices, like essentially that I'm calling this function here, without actually doing this bit here. So this is the part that we have not done inside this class. How do we do this? There is something called a constructor. A constructor is a function, a very special function, that constructs these pieces and gives you some sort of a capsule, a variable or an object where you can do these things in an interesting way, in a much more different way, but the idea is the same. So how do I construct an object and populate it with these three different elements? There is a special function, like I said, it's called the constructor, and its job is to actually create objects or instances of this item, of this object here. Well, clearly this object here is going to become a carrot, is going to become bread, is going to become milk, is going to become anything. Right now, what I'm looking at some sort of a factory that will give me items, and these items will be unique in their own way. So every item is going to be, when I go to the store, I look at tea, I look at cereal, I look at milk, I look at butter, I look at egg. So right now we're looking at all the grocery items. But this is the factory that's going to construct these objects here, or construct something similar to these objects here. So the function that I'm looking at here is called the constructor, and starts with two underscores, 1, 2, like that, except we don't leave a space. But I just wanted to make sure that you see that these are two underscores, and the function is called init, and it's coming from initialization, and then it also ends with a dash underscore, two of those. And then because it's a function, it has to be it has to take these parentheses. Okay, good. So now this function is supposed to populate the object. Supposed to populate the object with what? We need something similar to this. So we actually need something very similar that looks exactly like that. So we need a price that we are going to grab from the outside world to instantiate this, an object from this kind of factory. So we need a price, we need a quantity like that, and we need a description like that. Okay, but remember, every one of those guys will give every object from this type of item here, or grocery item, will be unique in its way. So I need to refer to the object, not the class. So to be able to refer to the object and the actual properties of this object, I need to pass another function that's called self. So this self here is going to be the handle that I will work, or I will use to operate against the instances, or against the variables that I embed here, with no order whatsoever here. So right now what I'm going to do, I'm going to define a function. I'm going to use the self to refer to three different properties here that I'm going to list. So I want to list a price, and I want the object to have a price, I want the object to have a description, and I want the object to have a quantity, like that. Okay, so now I want these guys to be initialized from the outside world. How do I construct an object? Like we here created these guys, what we call tuples, but we actually used these variables that we gotten from the keyboard to populate the item, and eventually every item had values. So right now I want another way. I want a way to populate the actual properties of the grocery item, because I know my grocery item, I want to have a price for it, and I want to have a description for it, I want to have a quantity, I want to have anything else I want, it doesn't matter. But I also want to make sure that I set these values, set these placeholders to actual values. So that would be the current price here, that will be the current quantity that I enter of an item, and that would be a current description. And these are arbitrary names. These are arbitrary names that I choose. Now I'm also choosing very descriptive names for the description and the price and the quantity. So now what I need to do, I need to take these the arbitrary name for the price, and I need to set the actual price that belongs to the item, and then I'm gonna do the same for the quantity, and I'm gonna do the same for the description. Okay, so now if I do this, then I have a mechanism. This mechanism takes values from the outside world, exactly in a fashion like that, and then it constructs an object without me having to worry about which one of those comes first, and I'll prove it to you. So now by doing this, by calling these functions that call get price and get the description, I can get these guys, like I showed you last time. I can get the description, I can get the quantity without actually having to say at index 0 or at index 1 or at index 2. That will be incorrect and will be unnecessary. The only thing that is necessary right now is to actually pass a handle to the object. It's called self, because I want to get the actual price that belongs to the object. Okay, so this object here gives me a little handle, and this handle here is what's gonna save me from saying at index 2 or at index 3 at index 4. The only thing that I want now is to use that specific keyword that's called self, and I'm gonna pass it also here as well. And this self here is going to be used to grab the description, and I'm also going to pass it here. And this is really necessary because it refers to the object that I'm working with, and I will show you what that means in a second. So right now I constructed, this looks really good. I constructed an object that has 3 different properties in the same way, or attributes, in the same way that I wanted to construct this tuple here. But right now, everything is inside, everything is encapsulated inside this guy here. How do I work with this without having to see these ugly details? These details are hidden inside, and the idea here was to hide. I did not mean for these ugly details, I meant these ugly details, because as you can see, there's nothing that hide this information from me and the horrible order that I have to work with. But in this case, everything is hiding here inside. So what is it that I need to do to start now working with this, what we call the class? So suppose now this class is going to be instantiated by an item of type caret. So caret, I'm gonna call this caret object. Caret item is better. And the only way now that I want to work with this object is to call something that is called the constructor. So now I'm gonna call this guy here, and I could essentially pass these values that I gotten from the keyboard right here. And I can actually do this thing here, description, like that, and the price, like that, and the quantity like that. So by doing this, if I run this, I have to run this first, and then I have to run this second. Now I have this object. If I print this object like that, I'm not likely to get anything other than the type. We'll see the default function here is basically telling me that I created an object of type grocery item. Now how do I access the description versus access the price versus how do I access the quantity, like that. Okay, how do I do that? Well, remember that we created these devices that called get and get and get. So now if I get this caret item here and I say to myself get the price in the same way that I designed here, without having to pass that self anymore, because that self is now referring to this object here. So you don't need to pass this function, you don't need to pass this anymore. This is only needed when you implement the function because you want to make it about this object here. Okay, but when you're calling the object, you don't need to pass this or the self function anymore. So now I'm going to show you now how to get the description, and now also I'm going to use the caret, the same object. And this is something that we also are learning here, that dot operator here. It means it's a reference. This is an object that refers to this item here that's being constructed, and it's basically calling the dot operator here is basically calling the function or invoking the function that's called get the quantity. Okay, that is embedded into the caret item. Okay. Let me show you now. If we print these guys, are we gonna get the same values that we enter from the keyboard? We should print like that. Well, I made a typo here. The print statement is not correct. So as you can see that where we got in the price incorrect. Right. What did we do? We definitely, here's what we did not do right. We did not honor the order here. We were supposed to enter the order and then the description like that, and then the quantity like this. Well, clearly we have to honor the description of the constructor or the function. We always have to make sure if we call function with more than one parameter, we have to honor the order. This is something that we have to honor for sure. So now if we run this one more time, then we get it correctly. As you can see, the price is $3.99. The description is carrots. The quantity is 3, which is essentially what we entered here. But what we did, you really did not ever have to worry about the order. Here's we could have done if we had to work with a tuple. We had to remember at index 0, at index 1. I don't even know what these indices are referring to. But here, as you can see, it makes a lot of sense. This one here gives me an idea, or gives me a device that can show me what I'm working with. Show me that I'm grabbing the price, that I'm grabbing the description, that I'm grabbing the quantity, and more important than anything else, say your classmate or your teammate liked the barcode, and you did not want to work with a barcode, BC, like that. So now she does her work correctly, and then she says get barcode like that, and then she passes that self function here, and then self the get barcode like that. That looks good. No, I apologize. That would be barcode, not get barcode. And then I'm passing this guy, the current barcode, to the object is property, that is barcode. So the property of the barcode inside the object is set by the value that I'm passing from the constructor. So if I run this here, okay, yes, because I need to fix this as well, like that. Then I need to pass a barcode 1 2 3 4 A B C D, like that. So now suppose now I don't need the barcode. Who cares? You don't have to worry about the order of these things anymore. You never have to worry about using the indices. And if your classmate or your teammate, she decided to add the barcode and you disagree with her, you might want to do you might just want to ignore this. But on the other hand, if she had her barcode embedded here like that, BC like this, then you find yourself having to shuffle the order of the price and the quantity and the description, and that will make you frustrated. But as you can see here, you really did not have to worry about the order at all. You basically say, give me the price, and then you get the price. Give me the description, and it's also much more readable for you to work with functions, or call them methods, as opposed to these ugly indices here, because here it doesn't really tell me what's in at index 2. I just happen to know because I'm looking at the result. But here, it's what you see is what you get. It's called the WYSIWYG. So here, when you say get the price, and then you see the price, and if you remember, even when we did not honor the order here of passing the functions to the constructor, the price was mixed up with the description. So we knew immediately that something was not right. There is also some really very nice messages or functions that people usually implement, so they can also change the price. They can change the description. I'm going to show you right now a function that would set description. So suppose you entered a description of an item that was incorrect, and the description here, always these functions must always take a self, because it has to access the description part of the object, and then you actually have to enter the current description as a parameter, because you're going to be using this self to access the description variable here, right? And this is how we access it, and this is how we set it. And that's all we need to do. We don't need to return anything. But here we need to return all these values. As a matter of fact, I don't need to do anything here. This was a get function right here. So now if I want to set the price, if the prices have changed, set the price, I'm going to pass the handle to the actual object, and then the new price, and that would be maybe, I don't know, for better reading, new description, because we're changing the description from an old to new. So I'm going to use the self dot the price, because that's the item that I want to work with, and I'm going to set the price by the value that I'm passing from the parameter here. All right, so I'm going to run this one more time. Okay, and if I do this, I still gotten the old values, because I'm only asking to get the old values. How do I change the price of the carrot? Even better, how do I change the description? How do I change the description? Well, I'm gonna call that set description here, like that. That's exactly how I typed it, and then I'm going to pass a new value to that. What's a name of carrot in another language. I can think of two different languages. In the Czech language, they call it Merkev. I don't know if Merkev, like that. I don't know if it's the right spelling or not, but it doesn't matter. And if now I said it, if I print it after, and let's also print it before, like that. Description before and the description after, right? That's what we need to do. Description after, like that. So before I set it here, I'm supposed to be getting carrot. I'm supposed to be setting the value to a new to the word Merkev, which is carrot in the Czech language, and then I can print after I set it, so I can see if it was already changed or not. Okay, because we called it new description and then we did not define, we did not change it in the body of the function. So let me do this one more time. We got this right now. Okay, oops. Yeah, let's make some spaces. Well, it's still complaining about the C description, and I'm not sure where that C description is coming from. Okay, here we go. Something is not right, because now it's actually looking at what did we do here. So the description is setting the description, right? And the description is in the third, because we also did not honor the order. That's another issue. We have to honor the order of how we're passing these values, because if you pass the description as a second element here and then you set it, it's gonna go into the wrong one. Right, so I think we should be okay now. Because we're getting the price. Sorry, we keep getting the price, but what we need to do is to get the description. Somebody should have said something to me. You guys are so helpful. Thanks so much. And then we get the description here, and then also, all right, we still have a little error here. It says, I'm suppose missing one required. Okay, we have the set description, which is okay, because here is supposed to be a get. Correct. I want to see the description before. I want to set the description to Merkev, which is carrot, and I want to get the description after. So that's what we're doing here. Okay, get description. What we need to do, where is the get description? Because we called it get disc. Now the idea here now, when you define a function, make sure you call the function by the way you defined it. Okay, now if I call this get description like that, so now I'm consistent between the word get description when full sentence and then a full word, and same thing here. And then as you can see, but why this guy is giving me 3. All right, let's go back up here. Okay, so we have a description, because you see what we did, we took the description and we set the quantity. So what we need, yeah, we need to be accurate. These are really good mistakes to learn from. Now if you pass a description here to the description, then you're supposed to be getting the right value. But if you pass the quantity to the description, which what we did, clearly this is not going to give us the expected results. So now we run this one more time. And I guarantee it to you, instead of seeing this 3 now, we're gonna see caret. So this is description before, and this is the description after. This is really great. So as you can see, we now able to work with functions as opposed to indices. We know the functions by name, and it makes sense. And also, it's so easy to see what goes wrong, because when you see a description that is being listed as a price, then you know for sure that this is not good. I think this is a really good introduction. I feel good that we, even though it's a little longer than what I was hoping for, but I feel good that we now work with a class, and we were able to hide all the information that we needed to hide. The order here doesn't matter. As you can see, we never had to worry about which one is actually been done first. And let me do this one last time. It doesn't matter right now if we put the description and the quantity before the price. It doesn't really matter, as long as we set them correctly with the actual expected values. So I'm gonna change the order here, and I'm also gonna put the barcode here all the way to the top. And I'm going to run it one more time. And as you can see, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed at all. The same code, we shuffled it around like that. Let me put the price here in the middle, like this. And then I'm gonna run it, run. And then this last one here, and I'm just want to make sure that you see that this is indeed the new one here. And I'm going to run it one more time. And as you can see, we gotten exactly the expected values without having to worry which one of those was declared first. Unlike if you swap here and here, you're gonna have to change your program dramatically. So all you have to do in object-oriented is to hide this information here inside the class and give people ways to access it. That is the only way. If you want me to access the price of your object or the barcode of your object, give me a function that will help me to get this information. And I don't care. I really don't care how you ended up coding your functions, how you ended up coding your class, which one of these items was stored first, stored last. It doesn't really matter. So if I put this one last time here, so I'm gonna change the order here again, and then I'm gonna run, and so I'm just gonna say quantity first, like that. So you would see, even though when I do the quantity first, all I need to do is compile the class again, or run it one more time, and I did not change any of the code at all. I did not change any of these things. Unlike if I change the order here, from here to here, then I go immediately. This is item number 3. If I want to get if I want to get the quantity of item number 3, let me do this here. The quantity of item, this is item 3, and I want to get the quantity of item 3, then the quantity of item 3 here is going to be at index 2, like that. And as you can see, and if I change this order one more time, if I change the price here and put it at the end, like that, then I run this. Well, let me run this first, and then if I run this, even though I'm looking at the quantity now, as you can see here, it's given me. Well, we said we wanted the quantity. The quantity was at index 1, but now, even though now if I change this guy here, if I put the quantity first, like that, and I come here, it changed. Unlike when I changed the price here, or when I change the quantity here, I put it in the last element, I don't have to change at all. If I change the order here, suppose your teammate wanted her code to be read in a different way, as you can see, nothing happened. Nothing really happened at all. So this is really great. Let's stop right here, and next time we'll talk some more about object oriented. Send me questions, shoot me an email, and as always, thanks for watching.